Alright everyone, quick video explaining the new assignment and showing you a little bit about the tools that we're going to be using that are new in addition to the ones that you already know. This last assignment is the Photoshop photo restoration. So you're going to be choosing two of the images that I've provided and restore all of the visible damage. You're going to try and make the final product as convincing as possible, fixing all the cracks, tears, folds, any other damage like water spots, foxing, which is discoloration, etc. Once you're done repairing the two photos, you're then going to hand color them. By that I mean, of course, in Photoshop, in whatever color scheme you would like, and try and make them look as realistic and convincing as you can. So what I mean by that is essentially you can choose any colors, but when it comes to things like skin tone, right, try and find something that's similar to what you think the original skin tone would have looked like. Don't make people purple, etc. So that's pretty simple. I'm going to show you the tools to make all that happen. In the end, you're going to have two saved copies. One is a PSD, just like normal, and the other one a JPEG. The JPEG will be to turn into me. Tools to focus on, some of these you're already going to know, especially the ones obviously down at the bottom. Dodge and burn you should know a little bit about, and the stamp, patch tool, healing brush, and paintbrush we're going to go over very quickly here in Photoshop. So I have one of the images open, and there's there's of course multiple ways to do any of these sort of restorations and fixes. I'm going to show you these tools and let you choose out of them what you think will work best in what areas. So the clone stamp is very simple. It essentially, I'm going to do this not to actually fix the image, but to show you, how it works. If I just click, it'll give me this error message that says could not use the stamp tool because the area to clone has not been defined. Option click to define a source point. So what you do with the stamp tool is you define what's called a source point, and then when you use the mouse, click the mouse with the stamp tool, it takes from that original source point and then recreates it at the new point. So if by holding the option key on the keyboard, you see I get this crosshair, and I can click here on the eyeball, and then now wherever I move, you can see that there's a little eye inside of my cursor. And now wherever I click and paint, it will start to reproduce from that original spot. So why is this beneficial? Well, you can use it, for instance, let's see, let's use it over here. So we have, well, it's probably easier to use it. So we want to get rid of this kind of stuff, right? So we can option click there to find that source point, and then we can come in and just kind of clean that up. So it's going to work well as long as obviously I couldn't choose here, right, and then come over here and do that, because the material I'm choosing over here does not match the one that I need to cover up. So you're going to have to do a little bit of creative choosing in order to find the correct spot to use for the stamp tool. Now the spot healing brush and patch tool are both located here. You may find that these are a little bit more intuitive. Definitely check all of them out and see what you think. The spot healing brush is used, zoom in a little bit. Basically you use it like a paintbrush, and as you paint it just makes a little dark area over those spots, right? So this, when I let go of the mouse, it's going to turn this off, and it's going to try and fix whatever is in that dark spot based on all the material that is around that dark spot. So sometimes this will work really well, sometimes maybe not so much, right? So that's not bad, but it didn't really do what I wanted it to. So you will find that sometimes it's really good at getting rid of what you need because the surrounding area may be very uniform. But for instance, right here, probably not going to do too well, right? Because essentially we know this should probably be black, but there's no black around here. It's all grays. So what the computer does is it pulls gray from around here and fills it in because it assumes that's probably what we want, but that's not actually true. So again, a tool that's very useful, but you need to pick and choose when you use it. The patch tool may actually be beneficial for something like this. So let's go in, make a drawing a selection around it, and then you click inside of it and drag to an area that you think it's kind of like. So like that. Not too useful either, actually. So probably what I would do instead is actually use the stamp tool to stamp right here, and then come in and repaint. Depending on where my original option click was, I may need to go and option click again. But you can see that's a little bit better, a little closer to what we want. I would probably fix this part too. Actually, let's go spot healing for that. Right? Not too bad. And you're just going to go through the entire image and kind of using these tools and clean up all the spots. Okay, so once we've got everything done and it's looking good, we've got all the creases out, all the discoloration, any speckles that look not necessarily like they're in the photo, right? Because a lot of this looks like it might be in the photo, but obviously tears or rips or scratches, anything like that. Once we have all that handled, what we're going to do is come over here and create a new layer, and you're going to need at least one layer, but probably you're going to end up wanting more, and that'll become more evident as we move along in the project. But what you're going to do is start to colorize this, and you can sort of freehand color this if you want, but you'll probably end up finding that that having selections, especially for some things, is going to be really beneficial to make hard edges and to keep everything nice and neat. So I'm going to make a selection here. This is in our clean new layer, and then I'm going to come over here to our paintbrush tool. In your toolbox, it may be on the pencil tool, so if you can't find the paintbrush tool, that's where it's going to be. And then we're going to pick a color. So I'm going to say, let's say light blue. And we're just going to paint here. And you can experiment with this. The quickest and simplest way to get started is to essentially do what I'm doing here, which is painting a solid color, and then coming over here to our layers and using this box right here, the blending mode. So clicking here and then moving down through these to see how these blending modes affect. So basically a blending mode takes the layer on top and applies a certain effect to that based on the layer that is below it. So it's kind of like an intermediary between the two layers. So some of these are definitely going to be better than others, and you may end up using different ones for different layers depending on what you're coloring, right? So that looks decent, I guess. Not too bad. And then you're going to color, the rest of the shirt. Might be blue. You may come in and find that you want to add highlights or shadows. You can use the dodge and burn tool right here. Dodge and burn. Dodge is going to make things lighter. Burn will make things darker. To add shadows, to your shapes, right? So you can see I'm adding shadows to the shape, and then we'll come back, and then you can see that it darkens up a little bit. You can do that with highlights as well, and that will add a little bit of definition to your color. You can also paint multiple colors if you feel like, for instance, oh, I'm in the wrong tool. If you feel like you want to add different kinds of colors to whatever you're working, the shape you're working on, if you think maybe there might be reflected color, for instance, if you think there's reflected light, that might be different colored light. If you just want to have maybe try and give them a tie-dyed shirt or something weird like that, that's totally doable. Generally, any type of shirt or anything really, but say you take a shirt, a blue shirt. That blue is not going to be solid blue over the entirety of the shirt in any photo. It's going to have different tones and possibly other colors that are sort of reflected off of the things that are around it. So this may be something you end up wanting to do as well. All right, so we have the spot healing brush, the patch tool, the paintbrush. The paintbrush works very similarly to Illustrator. We have the options up here to make it larger and smaller, to change the hardness. Basically, it works exactly like the eraser tool, which you're already familiar with, only it's an additive tool instead of a subtractive tool. And then, of course, the stamp tool, and then the dodge and burn tool here. And so once you have everything cleaned up, you're going to be colorizing it, the entire image, as realistically as possible in the areas that need to be realistic. And then that's it.